Hello friends, and welcome to St. Lucie Community. We will dive deep into sacred texts, and with the help of Agape Catholic Bible Study, we will uncover their timeless wisdom in its verses. I'm your host, Uni, and today we're exploring a powerful passage from the book of Baruch, chapter 5, verses 1 through 9, a song of rejoicing that speaks to hope, restoration, and divine glory. If you've ever felt weighed down by hardship or wondered about God's plan for renewal, this episode is for you. Let's begin with the imagery in Baruch 5. The text opens with an invitation to Jerusalem. Take off your dress of sorrow and distress, put on the beauty of God's glory forevermore. Right away, we see a shift, from mourning to celebration, from despair to hope. This isn't just poetic language, it's a call to transformation. Jerusalem, personified as a woman, is being told to prepare for something extraordinary. The return of her children, scattered across nations, now coming home under God's command. But why does this matter? Because Jerusalem here represents more than just a physical city. It symbolizes God's people, His covenant, and ultimately, His presence among humanity. In fact, allegorically, Zion, the name often used interchangeably with Jerusalem, came to be understood as heaven itself. Think about that for a moment. When we read these words, we're not just hearing about ancient history, we're glimpsing a vision of eternity, where God dwells fully with His people. Now, let's talk about the promises embedded in this passage. Verse 4 declares that God will give Jerusalem two new names: peace through justice, and glory through devotion. These aren't random titles, they're prophetic declarations of what Jerusalem will become. A place of peace, righteousness, and devotion to God. Names, in biblical tradition, carry immense weight. They signify identity, purpose, and destiny. Remember how Abram became Abraham, or Saul became Paul. Each name change marked a pivotal moment in their lives, signaling a new mission. Here, Jerusalem's new names point to her future role in God's redemptive plan. And speaking of redemption, this passage ties beautifully to other prophecies about Jerusalem. For example, in Isaiah 60 verse 14, the city is called City of Yahweh, and Zion of the Holy One of Israel. These messianic names reinforce the idea that Jerusalem belongs entirely to God and will reflect His holiness. It's a reminder that God doesn't abandon His people. Instead, He restores them, making all things new. The imagery continues with God preparing the way for His people's return. Mountains are flattened, valleys are filled, and fragrant trees provide shade. Sound familiar? This echoes Isaiah's prophecy of a new Exodus, a journey even greater than the first one out of Egypt. Just as God led the Israelites through the desert to the Promised Land, He would lead His exiled people back to their homeland. But this time, it wouldn't just be a physical return. It would be a spiritual renewal, a foreshadowing of the ultimate restoration promised in Revelation 21, where God makes all things new. So, what can we take away from this passage today? First, it reminds us that no matter how dark our circumstances may seem, God is always at work preparing a way forward. Whether it's personal struggles or global challenges, His promise of peace and justice remains steadfast. Second, it invites us to reflect on our own identity. Like Jerusalem, we too are given new names when we enter into relationship with God. Names like beloved, redeemed, and child of God. These names shape who we are and remind us of our calling to live lives of devotion and service. Finally, this passage points us toward hope, not just for ourselves but for the entire world. The vision of Jerusalem as a place of peace and glory isn't limited to one time or place. It's a glimpse of God's ultimate goal, a renewed creation where every tear is wiped away and every heart finds rest in Him. As we close, I want to leave you with a question to ponder. What new name might God be calling you to embrace today? How is He inviting you to step into the fullness of your identity and purpose? Thank you for joining me on this journey through Baruch 5. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. Until next time, may you walk in the light of God's glory, guided by His mercy and saving justice. That's it. Thanks for joining us, and see you at our next reflection on Baruch chapter 6.